Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm from E-Club, Singapore. Hello.
Hello. Good to see you here.
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Sushma ji, Swarna,
Hi.
Cindy.
Thank you for having us, joining you.
Most welcome.
We are still letting in a few people, so let's wait for another few minutes before we start. While we wait for friends to join, how many of you are familiar with GOPIO? Is this your first meeting with GOPIO?
Yes, Swarna. Your first meeting with GOPIO.
Okay. That's very nice.
Hello everybody. My name is Sujila. This is my very first time at this meeting.
Welcome to this meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Our speakers are here today. We will start at 4:10. Yeah, just give a few more minutes in case someone is joining us. Is that okay, sir? Hari sir?
Normally we start on time.
Okay, then we start immediately. Okay, fine. Thank you so much. I'm not sure how people joining in here. Welcome very much, a lot, everyone. My name is Swarna. I'm very honored to be the MC for today's event. I was told that this is the very first GOPIO event for women. And so that is something that is very special to my heart as well. When we talk about women empowerment, to have something that is starting for the first time and being part of it. I would like to specifically acknowledge that this program has been organized along with Kamala Club, and we do have our chairperson from Kamala Club, Ms. Smita, here with us. And before we go into the program, I would like to introduce the president of GOPIO Singapore and hand over for him to give the opening address. Mr. Hari Krishnan Muthuswamy needs no introduction to many of us here. I know him as Hari sir, and we have worked in many projects closely, so very fondly enjoy working with him. But giving an official introduction for him, he is known for his voluntary work. Yes, professionally, he is a business person and also holds many titles But I would like to highlight here that many of us who would like to spend time volunteering for the society, and Mr. Hari Krishnan is known for his time that he spends to give back to society. He has conducted many workshops for on art of speaking, and then he is also very fondly known for his involvement in Tamil Toastmasters in Singapore. And then coming to the titles that he has, many of them, yeah, he has got dedicated voluntary service award from Singapore Indian Artists Association, Singapore Tamilier Yekkam, and then United Indian Muslim Association, Singapore Kadenallur Muslim Association, Boonlay Community Center IEC, and then People's Association, Semmori Kavalar Community Service Association by Lisha, Bharati Dasan Award from Tamil Ilakkiyar Karagam, and Friends of MCCY, Ministry of Culture and Community and Youth, and the list goes on. Well, before, of course, very honored to present him here and also listen to his opening address. I welcome with warm hands. Can we all show a warm welcome to our President of GOPIO, Mr. Hari Krishnan Muthuswamy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon, everyone. Swarna gave a lot of details. I didn't know where she got all the information about me. So, thank you, Swarna, for your introduction. A very good afternoon, Ms. Smita, President, Singapore Kamala Club. Our special speakers, Ms. Devi Haridas, Senior Lawyer, Silver International Chambers, LLC. Dr. Vani Khare, humanitarian, child rights advocate and molecular biologist. Our talented MC is Sarna, financial advisor by profession and a great Toastmaster. And she is also the club director in District 80, moving on to program quality director and on 1st of July. Members of Singapore Kamala Club, members of GOPIO Singapore and the GOPIO chapters worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to our first GOPIO Singapore Women's Wing talk in collaboration with Singapore Kamala Club. GOPIO Singapore was inaugurated in 2002 and is a registered society under the Register of Societies since 2001. Our objective is to connect and engage with the Indian diaspora or people of Indian origin worldwide and Singapore. We have organized many networking sessions, business forums, youth programs, health talks, and cultural events. Besides the local arena, we have also collaborated with GOPIO chapters of other regions like Malaysia, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Indonesia, Thailand, Reunion Islands, Suriname, South Africa, France, Belgium, Australia, and many more to organize international events like GOPIO International Business Forums, GOPIO International Green Initiative Programs, GOPIO International Conferences, and many more. GOPIO Singapore was male-centric for past decades. However, over the recent times, we have seen many women joining our society, and we felt it is appropriate to introduce the Women's Wing to look into the interests of these members and organize activities for them. GOPIO Singapore's Women's Wing was officially inaugurated only in January 2022. and we have appointed a small committee to look into the interests of these women members and organize activities and events for them. As a result, we have today's talk, Women's Charter and Empowerment, first of their quarterly talk series. The Women's Charter is a legislative act that was passed in 1961 and to protect and advance the rights of women and girls in Singapore. It is a wide-ranking charter that brings together the regulation of relationship between husband and wife, and the relationship between parents and children, termination of marriages, and division of matrimonial assets. Today's Sunday Times has many articles on this subject. I'll come to that later in the Q&A session. Furthermore, it provides protection against family violence and penalty for offences against women and girls. The women's chapter applies to all men and women in Singapore, with the exception of persons married under the administration of Muslim Law Act, who are excluded from parts of the Women's Charter concerning divorce, division of matrimonial assets, and maintenance. With such legislation in place, women have been empowered with more authority in society. Women's empowerment can be defined as promoting the women's sense of self-worth, the ability to determine their own choices, and their right to influence social changes for themselves and others. Such empowerment has led to many successful women in society today, like our speakers today. However, it is still a pity that many women are still ignorant, are not aware of the contents of this legislation, and are still suffering in silence. I hope many of you attending today's talk will benefit from sharing of the details of the Women's Charter and empowerment of our experienced speakers. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate and thank our GOPIO Singapore Women's Wing, Ms. Anu Rajalakshmi and Ms. Amrita Agarwal, for selecting a very appropriate subject topic for their first talk. Lay behind your hands, relax, and enjoy the whole session that's going to come. Back to Toastmaster of the ceremony, Ms. Swarna. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Such a wonderful introduction to Women's Charter. And yes, I agree that many of us, even though educated women, are ignorant about our rights as women in the society. So going forward today, let me just explain how this whole program is going to work. We are going to have our first speaker who will just come up shortly and share with us on her topic. And then we will be having a second speaker, after which there is a question and answer session. So friends, I would urge you to take down notes, note down what you would like to ask, so that we can ask our eminent speakers here on the topics that they are sharing with us, so that our learning is also profound. Is that okay? Can we do some check on the Zoom screens? If you please come in, make sure that you are muted so that you do not disturb the speaker when you're there, okay? And it would be nice if we can see your faces, because As speakers, I can tell you the effect that when we see another face, a smile or a nod makes us, gives us the confirmation that we are in the same page. So if you can switch on your videos and it is comfortable, we would love to have your videos on. Yes. Okay. Now let us also look at some reaction buttons. If you're not able to work on the videos, there are some reaction buttons here. So let us start off with the heart button. After all, women always think from the heart is what I believe. So let us all put a heart emoji to show that we love what we are doing today. The wonderful Sunday afternoon, very usefully spending on this event here. Our very eminent speaker now, who is coming up, is well known. Let me give you her introduction. Miss Devi Haridas is the founder of Silver International Chambers LLC. She's a senior lawyer with more than 30 years of extensive dispute resolutions experience across multiple legal disciplines. Her strong involvement in community service and grassroots organization over many years enables her to render advice on a holistic basis, grounded in real experience and she encounters in all arenas of life. Devi today is going to share with us on selected highlights of the law touching and concerning marriage and the familial obligations in the eyes of the law. I now warmly welcome Ms. Devi Haridas to the screen here and hand over the screen to you, Ms. Devi Haridas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all these illuminary ladies and gentlemen. Let me try and start my presentation with the PowerPoints. You see my slides? Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we are able to see.
Just start the presentation proper. Okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Devi. Like Madam Swarna said, I've been a lawyer for a long time. And dispute resolution is my area of practice, largely speaking. Women's Charter. What were women before this charter? The charter actually brought legal identity to women. What that means is, pre-charter, the women had no legal identity. We did not exist in the eyes of the law. So before marriage, a female person was an appendage to the father. After marriage, a married woman was an appendage to the husband. Good and bad, I would say, because bad because you can't own properties, you can't have your own say, you cannot, if someone wronged you, you can't go and sue them, etc. But good in a sense because if you were to borrow money from somebody, then you can't be sued because you don't exist. And who gets sued? Your husband. Wasn't all that bad, but somehow it wasn't what the women wanted. Quite frankly, jokes aside, I think this was also an election promise by the PAP at that when it first came into power, and Mrs. Ong Pang Boon was the one who was championing this legislation, and this is how the legislation was born. So Women's Charter was introduced on the 15th of September, 1961, and it actually changed a whole lot of things for women. So what are the rights and duties of married persons, not just the lady, but the men as well. How do you protect your family? What happens when a marriage truly breaks down? There's divorce processes and maintenance. When a family is formed, you have the husband, you have the wife, and you have children. So this family unit maintains itself at a certain standard levels before it breaks down. And so a breakdown of marriage should actually not adversely affect the family members. So how do you provide for maintenance? In fact, right up to 2016, 2017, there was no such thing as maintenance for the husband. Nada, there was no maintenance for husband. Maintenance equals for the wife, for the children, from the man. But a lot of social changes has occurred over the many number of years since the charter was passed. And so a few years ago, this amendment was introduced into the charter, and the men can have maintenance, but under a very limited circumstances. So if there was an incapacitated husband, and incapacity is defined, of course, then, and the wife had been maintaining him, then if there were a divorce or just neglect, that incapacitated husband can go to court and ask for maintenance from the wife. So from no maintenance to some maintenance is, I would say, a step in the right direction. How much further it should be expanded, I'm sure each of us has our own opinions. And how would this change that some feel is very necessary? How would that happen? Your legislature. So it's only Parliament that can legislate new laws for any changes that the society wants to see. So broadly speaking, this is what Women's Charter did. From a nobody to someone who is on par with her husband, this is the mega change that the Women's Charter brought to us. Who does the Women's Charter cover? The Women's Charter applies to all persons in Singapore and persons domiciled in Singapore. Domicile means the country that, your country of domicile is the country where you are most closely associated. Of course, generally it'll be the country of which you're a citizen, right? But if a person who's a citizen of some other country has been living in Singapore for ages and ages and has lost contact but not given up citizenship, there's an arguable case to say that his domicile has changed. So the law looks at the domicile. Citizenship is a big evidence of domicile. So if you're domiciled in Singapore, Singapore citizen, yes, the Women's Charter will apply to you. Who else does it apply to? If you're in Singapore and you satisfy certain conditions, then you may be able to avail yourself of the provisions of the Women's Charter, even if you're not a citizen of Singapore. It does not apply to Muslim persons because certain areas of Muslim persons' order of life is exclusively, how should we say, it's exclusively under the jurisdiction of the Sharia court. So things like marriage, solemnization, registration, divorce, these are matters that do not come under the Women's Charter because for Muslim persons, it is totally under the Sharia laws. Okay, now, FEMSO. This is what the Charter effectively did. It gave the woman an identity in the eyes of the law, legal identity. Okay, what does that mean? All property which was properly the property of a married woman before the date the Charter kicked in, 15 September 1961, right? Or it was held for her use separately. So she wasn't an entity before the Charter, but there was a property that was meant for her use, for her own maintenance. And it was there, held on trust by husband probably. Or at the time of her marriage, on or after the Charter kicks in. So the charter has come in. You've now bought your own property. Now, this property, what happens to this? And everything after that date. Whatever the woman owned before, which was held on trust for her, and on or after, which she has acquired, now can be in her own name. So that's what FEMSOL means. I'm now a legal person in the eyes of the law. And so all these properties that were for my use or acquired by me, as in like I've paid for it, but I had to buy it under my husband's name. All these can now be held under my own name. It's mine. So I'm a FEMSOL. Another phrase that men still use in relation to ladies, they call them femme fatale. So that's a different arena. Now, with the abolition of the wife's dependent domicile, that means now I hold my own domicile. What happened before that? And this only happened in 1981, not 1961. So all through up to 1981, if I'm married to a US citizen, his domicile is US, my domicile was US. If I'm married, I'm a Singaporean, I've never seen the US, but I'm domiciled in US because I was married to someone who's domiciled in US. So in 1981, this position changed as well. So we now have our own domicile. Where do I want to live? Which country do I want to call my home? I don't have to now tag along with the husband. It is now my choice. The husband could be from the US, from Timbuktu, it doesn't matter. If I want my domicile to be Singapore, then Singapore it is. So since then, since the change in 1981 happened, the married woman could also have her own domicile. So you see the changes were drastic in 1961. From a nobody, we became a somebody in the eyes of the law. Then after that, we could own properties, we could do things on our own. Now we also can own our own domicile. So what else has I can have my own name. I don't have to be a Mrs. Tan or a Mrs. Nair or a Mrs. whatever. So now I can stay a Miss or a Madam, my own name. In fact, when this change happened, a lot of couples adopted hyphenated surnames. So you'll have children named like Tan, Dash, Lim, so and so. So this change of attitude was very gradual. Although the law said you can have your own surname, the woman didn't want to abandon the husband's surname. So this was also a gradual change. For ladies, young ladies of today, I think all this is like, what? This actually happened? It's not even present here, but this is how it happened. Okay, very gradually, we got our foothold in the. Now, with liberty, a lot of responsibilities, right? My creditors no longer can go after my husband. I have to answer for my own debts. So what else can I do? I can buy, I can sell, I can sue, I can be sued, all in my own name. So gone are the days when the wife drives a car recklessly and runs down somebody or somebody's dog, and the owner comes looking for the husband, and the husband has nothing to say except sorry and pay. Now the wife takes her own rap for whatever she does. So bankruptcy, law of bankruptcy, yes, the woman can also be made a bankrupt. Can there be, if I can be sued, there can also be judgments against me, right? Just give me a moment. Excuse me. So if I can be sued and there can be a judgment against me, the judgment creditor is not going to sit there and look at me. So he's going to come after me to liquidate my assets, try and catch hold of my assets, sell them, satisfy his own debt. All these are called enforcement of judgments and orders. So can that happen? Yes. You're your own entity, so take your own responsibilities, right? The key features of Women's Charter. Very quickly, the major stone of Women's Charter is, it introduced for civil marriages only monogamous marriages. That means one person is only allowed one spouse at any one time. Okay, what does that mean? It means pre-charter, polygamy was quite prevalent. So one person may have many spouses. So what happened when the Women's Charter kicked in? It made provisions for transition, of course. So if there were lawfully married polygamous people, then it still stayed. But as of that cutoff date, you cannot take on any more wives. I don't think it worked for women at that point. So it's usually the men who take more than one spouse. So if at the date of 15 September 1961, you already had 3 wives and there was under a custom that allowed you to do that, fine. I'm talking civil marriages, yeah? That's fine. But you can't then say my custom says I can take on another 3. Because at that point is where you say, this is it, no more wives, okay? But if at that point you were not yet married and you were getting married after that, it's just one spouse, okay? The charter doesn't say only the men can take one wife, it just says one person, one spouse. So in those days, it wasn't common for women to marry polygamously, but it was more common the other way around. So what happens if, let's say, during the subsistence of a monogamous marriage, that means while I am already married to Mr. A, I go and get married to Mr. B. What happens? Well, in the eyes of the parties, it may be a valid marriage, but the law only recognizes the first marriage. What happens to the second and subsequent marriages? Because the first marriage is still valid and existing, everything else is void. When I say void, it's a legal term that means it never happened. It just doesn't exist, period. So the second marriage doesn't exist, the third marriage doesn't exist. So if a man were to get married once and then again and again, the second and third wives are not legal, legitimate wives. And so the children will also not be legitimate children, which means they cannot inherit, right? Now, what happens if the parties truly believe that they were legitimately married and they carried on their lives in that manner, and the first wife, not divorced, not dead, still there, but the marriage wasn't dissolved? Too bad. In the eyes of the law, your first marriage subsists, and that's the one that the law will recognize. So second and subsequent marriages are void. What also comes with second and subsequent marriages under the charter is it created the offense. Okay, offense means it's a crime. It created the offense of bigamy. And, in those days, the men might have thought, well, if I marry more than one woman and I maintain them, they're all happy, then that's big of me, right? Well, it might have been, but under the eyes of the law, it's bigamy. So offense carries punishment. It can be 7 years to 10 years, depending on where you fall in that spectrum. And it can also add on a fine of 10,000 to 15,000. So for the people in marriages, you would want to know that if, to your knowledge, the other spouse is already engaged in another wedlock, then your position is very precarious. Okay, now rights and duties. It says how you should behave in a family. Well, not right. It sort of prescribes the big picture. Okay, the charter just broadly defines what you're supposed to do in a family. Example, husband and wife are mutually bound to cooperate with each other. Surprise, surprise, right? I mean, you're married to each other, you better make it work. So what else can you do? Now, pre-charter, the lady had to basically stick around the husband, be blessed by the husband to do this and that, because they didn't have their own identity. For example, if the wife had a fantastic idea for a business, she can't go out there and start preparing for the business, roll it out and all that. She has to get the husband to buy into her idea and then roll it out. Help, have him help her roll out the ideas, and then the business takes off. So she could be the brain working it, but he has to be the legal person working it. Here, after the charter, you can separately engage in any trade, any profession, social activities, independent of each other. So it's not just the lady who's allowed to do all this. Of course, the men have always had these rights, and so it's not any kind of a change that they would appreciate, but for the ladies it was. Maybe for today's ladies, you don't really even give it a second thought, but we've come a long way for you to be where you are today. Okay, household, running of the household, chores, let it be chores, finances, planning for the family's future. Who does it? We always hear about traditional roles, right? Wife must cook, must clean, must take care of the babies, make sure they study well, they do their homework. Husband's job is to go out there, bring home the bacon, manner of speaking. It was more like Captain Caveman kind of situation, where you have the male hunters go out there, face the dangerous animals, kill them, bring them back for dinner, and the women stay in the cave, and they protect and nurture the young. That's how the human race started. So we can't blame this mindset for being there. But in today's world, with the charter's help, this has changed. So everything, both parties have equal rights in the running of the household, in making decisions for themselves, for the family, for the children. So I don't think this poses much of an issue in many families in today's context. So the woman can now be a trustee. I want to set up a trust for my children. I can be a trustee, right? Or I can ask my sister to be a trustee. I can ask my niece to be a trustee. So it's not an impediment that the trustee is a female. Executor, I write a will. I need someone to execute my will. So I need an executor. Can that be a lady? Yes, it can now. Okay, so if I make my will, I need my own legal representative, right? So that can also be a female person. So all these rights which the charter has given to us, they are still enshrined in the charter, but they're taken very much for granted these days. Now, along with starting a family, obligations, maintenance, how do you maintain a family, children? Now, parents' duty is to maintain children. Parents refers to both, not just mother, not just father. Both have a legal duty to maintain their children, whether they're legitimate or not. Okay. Now, the court can make maintenance orders for the wife, for the children, and as I've explained a bit earlier, for an incapacitated husband as well. This was introduced on 1st of July, 2016. Okay. Now, how much maintenance will be ordered? Depends on a lot of factors. So you have situations like financial needs. How much does this person need to go on? Physical, mental disability, is there any of these present? If there is, then you would have to factor that in. What was the standard of living enjoyed prior to the neglect? And what was the manner in which the child was being educated? And what was the projected standard of education that the parents had intended for the child? Does the child or even the other party have any earning income any income or earning capacity or any other financial resources like inheritance, property, whatever that generates income? And as between spouses, what is the conduct between them? What was it like prior to the breakdown? All these and more would be, well, more would be this. How old are the parties, right? If you have a wife asking maintenance from a husband, the wife is 55 and the husband's 85, and she's asking for maintenance for another 30 years, question mark, will the husband be around for 30 years, right? So the court has also got to give orders that are workable and practical. Again, physical, mental disability of either parties, contributions to the marriage to the welfare of the family during the marriage, even caring for, other family members, like the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, such like. So after these factors, the court will assess them, and then the court will decide on a suitable maintenance sum, whether it's for the party, the husband, the wife, or the child. And this is called a maintenance order. And a maintenance order means you have to obey it, you have to comply with it. If parties agree to change the order by saying instead of paying X dollars, you pay Y dollars, this is not allowed unless the order itself is varied by another order. Otherwise, the difference becomes arrears that the other party can turn around and claim. So that's something that many people do not know. It's not very commonly known. For family life addresses is family violence. Okay, family violence has been, I suppose it has been around in all ages, but why is it becoming such a major, talking point at this, in this day and age? Probably because more people are coming out to ask for help. Or maybe there are people who are not asking for help, but others know of people who should be asking for help. So somehow the awareness is creeping up. And of course, the charter has provisions, right? Now, if a person is being abused, can be physically, can even be mentally, putting someone in fear without actual physical abuse is also physical violence. And you have a wide range of family members against whom you can get a protection order. It's not just the spouse or the immediate children. It can be parents against the parents, parents-in-law, siblings, even former spouses. So the protection ambit is quite wide. Now, if you have someone who is, instead of hitting you every day, speaks threateningly and instills fear in you such that you are unable to conduct yourself normally, you could also seek help to get this person to stop hurting you in that manner. Okay, so it's a big topic. So this is just, the tip of the iceberg. So now, at the protection order, when will a person get a protection order? The court must be satisfied, okay, on a balance of probabilities. Okay, you don't have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. On a balance of probability that family violence has been committed or is likely to be committed against another family member, and it's necessary for that protection of that person that the order be made. Okay, so the order, what does the order say? The order says, okay, you shall not use violence against this person. Okay, now if it is an abusive spouse, example, I make an application. The application has got to be served on the spouse, meaning the court server will look for the person and serve it on the husband, and the husband has to appear in court on a particular day. Now, as soon as he is served, he knows I've applied for the protection order. The hearing date may be a week away, 5 days away. Now, in between, is there any safety for me? It'll definitely get him all riled up, right? Like, how dare you go to the court, and how is the judge going to stop me from like pounding into pulp? And that interim period, you can also face a lot of issues, right? Now, okay, protection order eventually will say that you cannot use violence on this person, and you cannot incite another person to do the violence on your behalf. Like, okay, the order says I so and so can't hit you, right? So I'll get my friend to hit you. Okay, it doesn't work because the order will cover that as well. But what happens in the interim? If let's say while I haven't got my order yet, the hearing hasn't happened, and this bloke is going to beat me up again, what do? I go and tell the judge, look, I want the order. Yes, I understand you have to have a hearing before you will give me the PPO. But in the interim, what if I die, So there's this thing called expedited order. Expedited order means something that you have to convince the judge that there is real imminent danger in the interim, so that there'll be an expedited order given to you pending the hearing. If you have that order and the person still, hammers you, all you have to do is call the police, and the police will come and grab him and drag him away. Okay, so that's expedited order for the interim. Of course, PPO will be until it's revoked. What is domestic exclusion order? Domestic exclusion order is, I've got a PPO, and the bloke comes and tells me, well, do you think the judge is going to come here and stop me from hitting you? And he starts, hitting me again. I call the police and he's taken away and all that. Then I go back to court and say, I don't want this person in the house because I don't feel safe. What can the judge do? And he says, hey, this is my house. I'm a co-owner, or I'm the sole owner. And the judge will tell him, too bad, it may be you may be the owner, you may be a co-owner, but because you have violated the order, you are not to enter the house. So that's domestic exclusion order, exclusion from your own home. Okay, if you still go on violating the orders, you can be fined, you can be thrown into jail, suit yourself. Now, that's for protection of family. What about marriage? Everybody goes into a marriage with a lot of hope that it'll last, until their sunset years. But sadly, there are times when, parties to a marriage cannot agree, they fall out with each other. And what happens then? There are a few ways in which a marriage can go. One is if the marriage doesn't meet certain criteria, certain essential criteria, it may be void. That means from the word go, it never happened. You may think it happened, but the law doesn't recognize it, so it's void. Okay. For some other reasons, it can be voidable, meaning certain situations exist. You go to the court and say, I didn't know about this when I was getting married, so I want this marriage to be pronounced void, null and void. So that will sort of end that situation. What about a valid marriage? That means a marriage did happen, it was good, it's not void, it's not voidable, but it has broken down. So marriages that break down irretrievably, beyond repair, okay, would require a divorce order to terminate it. There's only one reason for divorce: irretrievable breakdown of marriage. No more fault. It's his fault, it's her fault, not necessary. How do you prove? There are 5 supporting facts that the law actually will accept: adultery, unreasonable behavior, desertion for 2 years at least, continuous period of 2 years, separation, 3-year separation with the other party's consent to the divorce being granted, or if there is no consent, 1 more year, 4 years, no need consent. Then the divorce will be granted. Why? Because the law says if these factors exist, then the marriage has broken down irretrievably. Okay, so no other reason like I can't stand his face in the morning, it gives me nightmares at night, all those will not work. Only these will work. Okay, divorce, which ends the marriage, what happens? There are tag-along issues, right? Custody, care and control of children, maintenance of the parties, maintenance of the children, and of course, division of matrimonial assets. Most divorces are fought very hard on these issues. These are the more painful part of any divorce proceeding. Oh, what happened to my slide? Something's gone wrong. Well, anyway, what I actually wanted to end with is a note to all of you that when you get into a family, right, you are forming a family, you are taking on responsibilities, it should not require the law to tell you how you should behave, how you should proceed with your life, and what kind of responsibilities you have towards your spouse, towards your children, even your parents, siblings and all that. But in the context of the Women's Charter, what it it seeks to do is basically to tell you that, look, these are the general societal expectations which I'm putting into written law. So in case you need a reference point, we are here. If you need help, there are loads of provisions. So earlier I heard Mr. Hari mention that there are many women or even men who are ignorant, who are not aware that such help is available. If that were the case, I am truly sorry to hear that, because the law is there for us to use. So if we don't avail ourselves of the law, what it can give us, then I think we only have ourselves to blame. I think if you are aware of someone who is suffering in silence, maybe because they are afraid or uncomfortable about availing themselves the help that the law is extending, maybe you should just, there are lots of mediators, mediation centers, and family counseling services and all that. So that will be a first soft landing point for people to learn about the remedies and the help that the law gives to them. So, so broadly, these are the 8 issues that I wanted to bring up with the audience today. I hope it has been helpful. With that, I'll pass you back to Ms. Swarna.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was very nice. Can we all have a round of applause for the Ms. Devi here?
Yeah, sure.
Definitely ignorance is no bliss, right, Ms. Devi? And today, even though I do have some sort of a legal knowledge, but today a few things that you did ring a bell in me, and I said, "Wow, I didn't know that." Okay, so thank you so much for your share. But we will keep the Q&A in after the next speaker. So now let's go to our next speaker, who is going to share with us a very beautiful sharing on just being human, I guess, right? Vani is a humanitarian, a child rights advocate, and a molecular biologist. She's also the founder of the social change organization Sanrakshana Private Limited and an NGO Faith Foundation Trust India. She's currently also attached to with the Institute of Cell and Microbiology, A-Star Singapore, as an independent postdoctorate fellow. Wow, Dr. Vani, beautiful, so many things. Yeah, and we welcome you to stage to share your sharing here on the topic that is close to your heart. Over to you, Dr. Vani.
Thank you very much, Varna, and thank you, Mr. Hari Krishnan, for having me here. It's a very, very important topic that we are speaking about today. And Ms. Devi, really, I loved the conversation you had. It's so important. Even I gained a lot of perspective out of that, like what Swarna said, like there are things that even we don't know while working in this direction. So before we start on today's topic, let's just quickly have one word about how are you feeling right now? How's your energy level? So probably you can write in your chat box. Excited. Somebody says, hey, so Swarna is excited. Thank you. I am feeling inspired, energized, awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for inspired. Yes, all these efforts by so many women and men shows that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So thanks for bringing these beautiful words out there. The topic that I have chosen today is called intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence is something that causes far more pain than any kind of visible marks or bruises on someone's body, because it is devastating to be abused by somebody you love and think that they love you in return. And this is what I'm going to share today. And I think a lot about the law has been covered by Devi, and I'm going to talk about more of the socio-emotional aspect of intimate partner violence. So I would start sharing my screen. My slides are here. Right. So first of all, what is intimate partner violence, right? Any mistreatment that's been done by somebody whom you are in intimate relationship with, whether this is your husband, whether this is somebody you are dating, whether this is your lover, whether this is your ex, any kind of continuous mistreatment knowingly done by this person is intimate partner violence. Now, there is a definition which is broadly adopted by WHO and MSF. However, the boundaries always belong to us. For some of us, even the belittling or the kinds of argument, if they continue to be where you are being insulted, is more than enough to walk away. But for some of us, the boundaries are different. For me, a slap is not all right. So similarly, let's look at like what are the intimate partner violence when it comes to what MSF or WHO says. It refers to any behavior within an intimate relationship which causes the physical or psychological or sexual harm to those in the relationships. Like, and you know, the intimate partner violence always comes with lot of different kind of abuse. It's not like it is, we always think, okay, violence or domestic violence only means that somebody is being badly beaten up, but it's not just that. There is definitely physical violence such as hitting, slapping, kicking. Then there is sexual violence involved in that, wherein the sexual intercourse or coercion has been done without the person's consent. And then there is psychological and emotional abuse, which is insult, belittling them, constant humiliation, giving them threats, manipulating them, controlling behavior. Isolation is one of the most common thing that happens into intimate partner violence, which means that, you know, the perpetrator will start isolating the person from their friends, from their family member, checking what time they are coming, isolating them from different resources that can help them grow or that can make them to go there and talk about what's happening to them. So all of this comes under intimate partner violence. And now the question comes, who is intimate partner, right? So where do you think, like, which kind of relationship do you think this intimate violence exists? Anybody from probably you can just put it in the chat box for me. Okay, I don't see anybody answering that question. No problem. So the intimate partners can be anyone. The abuser or the person who has been abused can be anyone. According to MSF's statistics, from 2012 to 2016, there has been 70% increase in the violence cases amongst women and 25% increase in the violence cases amongst men. And we are not even covering same-sex relationship. Even there, the violence exists. And what happens is, we always wonder that if there is violence, why is it that the person who's being berated or the person who's undergoing violence, why is it that this person is not able to get out of that, is not able to get out of relationship? It is because of this cycle of abuse. It is a model that has been created after going through various cases, after going through the nuances of various cases. And the way it goes is, first starts the tension building, which means that the perpetrator and the victim, there's going to be breakdown in the communication. the tension might increase in between them. There might be small fights which somebody would consider that, oh, it is a fight between lover or husband and wife, and then this will slowly cause victim to become more and more fearful, and this victim will then do anything to please the abusers so that the incident doesn't happen. Second, it is incident, which could be really terrible verbal, emotional, physical, sexual abuse that could happen to that person. And often it involves beating a person, really battering them, bruising them. All of that is involved. Intimidation, threatening them. I would like to say, like, I have seen many people who go through such incidents. They say that, oh, because, we don't have any visible mark, doesn't mean they are in denial that they are not going through abuse. But the truth is, any kind of intimidation is actually abuse. And if somebody is causing a person to live in the fear, constant fear, it is abuse. It is intimate partner violence. Then comes the third phase, which is the reconciliation. And this is where the whole dynamics of why a person is not able to leave the relationship starts. The abuser comes and apologizes, gives the excuse like, okay, you know what, you did not cook well, or you came late from the office, or you were with that person that I don't like, you were with that family member who I don't really like, and that's why I did it. Or what they would do is that they would completely forget about it. They will say, oh, I don't remember that I did anything like that. Or they will deny that it was even abuse. They will say, oh, it wasn't as bad as what you are talking about. It was just a slap, or it was just, I just punched the hole in the wall, I was drunk. And then comes the stage where there's a calm, which means all is forgotten, there's nothing going on, and we call it honeymoon phase, because abuser is a master manipulator. And what he does, or she does, is that they will start then treating the victim very nicely. There will be romantic lunches, dinners, promises of love, and then again the tension starts building. Now this whole cycle could be from a month to few weeks, six months, 1 year long, but it will happen again and again and again. Now, what is the reason that survivors do not leave their partner? First is the fear of retaliation. Because when survivor gains the courage to walk out, it is the most dangerous time in this relationship, because the person who is a manipulator is going, now this victim is walking away. So they are going to do things which could be very dangerous for their life. It could be threatening. Thus, because of the fear of retaliation, they are like, they stay away, they stay with them. And then there's a lot of time when it comes to women, and in this patriarchal society, the way that we have been raised, we are often, there are gender roles, right? So we are often expected to perform, like what Devi said, like house duties, taking care of the children, taking care of the family. And thus many of us do not pursue our career further, and we don't have the means of economic support other than our husband or our partner, right? So with the lack of economical support, this person doesn't know what I will do when I walk away. How am I going to support myself? Where am I going to live? And then there is a concern about children, that what if this person leaves me and the children? How am I going to support my children? Or what if this person takes away the children from me? How am I going to see my children? But I have also worked with the cases where the children have been used as baits, and often when the children try to reconcile the parents, the children have also suffered from beatings and bruises, and I mean, I can't even talk about it. It's really difficult. Then there's a lack of support from family and friends. Where to go? Because remember, isolation, they have already been isolated. There's no connection with anyone to whom this person can go. And then there is a stigma or fear of losing the custody of the children if there's a divorce happening. And of course, there's love that this person might change, because there is a honeymoon phase that happens and it can go for a very long time before the another incidents happen. There's a very beautiful movie on it's a series on Netflix. It's called Maid. If you want to really get into the dynamics of intimate partner violence, you should watch it. Like for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, no incident happening, and then suddenly when this person goes back to the partner, one day it happens again. Now, what are the other things? What are the fixed beliefs that sort of support the intimate partner violence? When it comes to women, right, and men, the way our patriarchal society is, the way we are raised, a man has a right to assert the power over a woman, and it is considered socially superior. How many times we would have heard, and even we talk about, oh, he keeps his wife properly disciplined. Oh, his wife follows all his orders, and that's considered masculinity. That's considered superiority. It even happens now in this era. And sometimes it is also considered that a partner has a right to physically discipline a person for incorrect behavior, or physical violence is the accepted form in any relationship to resolve the conflict. Because often what happens is that is what they have seen growing up. Maybe there was a lot of violence in the family, between the parents, between probably the way, the parents have treated you. Maybe there's a lot of corporal punishment, disciplines, and that makes a little child think this is the way to handle relationship. And thus when they grow up, this is the way they handle relationship. And for men, lately, I have also been listening to a lot of cases where men have been victim of domestic violences, without going into the details of them because they are very private and confidential. Oftentimes, men don't come forward and speak about it because the society will question their masculinity. And it is true. If what happens is, if one of you listen to it, like say, oh, that his wife beats him, we laugh about it. Oh, the wife beats him, yeah, ha ha ha, laugh about it. But no, it's not a matter of laughing at somebody, because whether it is a man or a woman or any kind of gender, any abuse is not okay. They are equally vulnerable. Then another thing is that the sexual intercourse is a right to intimate relationship, which means the consent doesn't matter, especially if you're married. Marital rape doesn't exist. I remember there was a time when I was working with a community, and there was a woman who was about 18 or 19 years old, already married, and she came and she told me that my husband wants to do it even when I don't feel like doing it. And I started telling her that it's your right, your body is your right, and you have to tell him if you don't want to do it, and he has to accept it. But then you will be surprised to know that I was told by the older women of that community to keep quiet and not to speak about it. So there is another question of who is actually feeding this toxic masculinity and patriarchy. Often it's us, women. Then probably in order to keep the family together, because marriage is known for its longevity. Like a marriage is successful if it is long, and they were happily ever after. And if they are not happily ever after, if you are divorced or if your marriage is not working fine, and if you go and talk about it, immediately you get different kind of tags, like a tag of divorce. You may not be welcomed in the society. You may in many Indian culture and marriages, if you are divorced, you are considered a taboo, and you are not allowed to sit beside the brides and groom when the prayers are going on. So all these things, these fixed societal belief, and of course then there is a belief that the weaker gender deserves to be beaten. There is a line in one of the scripture, I'm going to say it, I don't care. It says pashu nari tarana ke adhikari, which means that if it's an animal or if it's a woman, they should be beaten up. These are the things that we are grown up listening to, believing at, or seeing it in the family. Then how is it that we are going to get out of intimate partner violence without having the awareness that these belief systems are negative belief system? And it's high time that we should get out of it. Now, before that, I would also say that because of these belief systems, and because when you are in a family unit and when somebody is actually a perpetrator, right, it's not safe for you. It's not safe for your children, and it is not safe for your family. So really create your boundaries and start slowly having the courage to walk out of it. And we are going to talk about it in some time, but let's first look at the myths of intimate partner violence. All around, all the people around the victim often thinks, the family members, the friends, they think that, oh, it's a private matter. It's a private matter between husband and a wife. And who are we to go and talk about it? They will resolve it. In every household, something or other happens. So what that they have thrown the vessels? So what that they have punched the hole in the wall? So what that they have slapped once or twice? It is all right. Pushing somebody is all right, but it's not. And it's not a private matter. It is all of our responsibility to make sure that it is safe for all the people around. It is safe for a family. It is safe for a husband and wife to be in a marital relationship or in an intimate relationship. Then it's a lover's quarrel. And sometimes we judge people because they indulge in online dating or same sexual relationship or one night stands or relationship that are not approved outside of the context. So, people will say, oh, because she or he went and did one of those things, then they deserve it. But that is victim shaming. That is not called awareness. That is not called you standing for the person, right? And then sometimes we think, okay, this person told me about this incident that happened, and this is a close family together. Maybe it is just one time and it will eventually stop. And you know what? This person is so nice to everyone else. So maybe the other person is lying. And yes, of course, you do your due diligence. But if a person is nice to rest all of you here and not nice to the intimate partner, that person is an abuser. And then many of us also think that, oh, it happens somewhere out there to the people who are poor, to the people who are uneducated. But it's not true. It happens. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to me. It can happen to you. It can happen to our sons, our daughters, our close people. I have worked through the cases of men and women who are at a very high level, very well educated, doctors, engineers, mariners, like it happens. It happens to all of us. And then we think, if it was really this bad, they would have left. And we will come to that. We will come to that. Why can't they? And I already discussed why they cannot leave. There is this cycle of violence. There is isolation. They are already isolated from the rest of the family and friends. Where are they going to go? And then we think that maybe they have been provoked because, there was drug involved or alcohol involved, or she or he would have done something that provoked this person to give her a slap or to push her. But no, that's not true. This is called hiding behind an excuse. Sometimes people say, oh, this person has the anger sitting on his nose or on her nose and tends to get violent, but accepted in the family. No, it shouldn't be. This person should be sent for the counseling, and this person shouldn't be near any intimate partner until and unless they are healed. Now, I know it is difficult for a survivor to get out of a relationship. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of courage, and it is very, very dangerous. And I would not say that I don't recommend you to 100% get out of that space where this perpetrator is or where this violent partner is. But I know that there are times when you cannot. So I'm not going to judge you on that. Whenever you get time, whenever you gain the courage, whenever you feel resilient, here are the ways in which you can get help in Singapore. And if there are people who are listening from other countries, I know 1 or 2 people who are supporting me are here. You can also figure out the similar things in your country. So number 1 is make a call. There is National Anti-Violence and Harassment Helpline. This is the number. You can make a call to them. You can call police on 999. They will also give you the reference to get your physical exam done, because often when domestic violence or intimate partner violence is happening, you may be injured.
Just
Your medical, should I stop? Your medical,
Please continue. Someone came in and there's a disruption.
no problem. Your medical health need to be taken care of. Then, of course, there are organizations like Aware and PAVE. I have worked with Aware Sexual Assault Center for some time. This is their helpline. They are really dedicated individuals there doing this work. You can call them up. They are professional. They know how to handle. They will do safety plannings with you. They will handle their case. They will help you to get what Devi just said about protection orders, right? They will help you to get the protection orders against the perpetrator. Similarly, there's another organization, PAVE, which can also help you with all these things. Now, another question that arises, where to go? When you are walking out of this relationship, often this person is a husband or a wife, and you're living in their home. So where to go from here? This was the home. Now this is not, and I am isolated from everyone. So what should I do? You can go to family service centers. These family service centers will assign you shelter homes where you can go, or you can directly call some shelter homes. There's one called Casa Rauda. I have worked with them. Again, very dedicated people, making sure that the individuals who are there are safe. They don't even reveal their address. And then there's a Star Shelter, which is also run by Aware, if I'm not mistaken. So you can go to them, and you can always have some friends and family members to whom you can talk to and say that, hey, listen, if I may need a couch at your place for a while, would you be able to provide it, and have that settlement with them? Now, if you have decided to take it to the court, you can go to the civil court. I think Devi has already covered it very well. And yes, exactly. And then when you go to the civil court, you get the protection. You can get the protection order. These protection orders can be personal protection orders or expedited protection orders and domestic exclusion orders. Now, the personal protection order means that this person cannot be in the vicinity of you, which means that they cannot interact with you, they cannot come to you, they cannot be with you. And let's say, as if for protection order, you do need to provide the judge with certain proof that this is the reason why you need it. But let's say in the meantime, while you are gathering the proof and all those things, that you are really scared, there is a danger to your life, there is a danger to you, you're medically threatened, or they can really harm you, you can get the expedited protection order, and you can reach out to any advocate who are doing this work, or you can reach out to the helplines, like you can reach out to Aware, you can reach out to PAVE, they will help you with this. And then there is a domestic exclusion order, which means that they can't even come to your home, they can't even come to the premises where you are in. And this is the number of Family Justice Court. It's at Havelock Road, if I'm not mistaken. So if you need that, you can have it, you can call them, you can talk to them. Now, for those who are still in a violent relationship and have not walked out yet, and even if you have walked out, for some reason you are carrying on with this person, right? It's still very important for you to take care of yourself, to make sure that you are safe. And for that, you do safety planning. Whether you are with the perpetrator or whether you are not with the perpetrator, you have to do the safety planning. And I call them 6 C's. Number 1 is cataloging. Cataloging means keeping all your important documents accessible to you, hidden from the perpetrator, which means your bank document, your ICs, your certificates, your educational certificates, all those things that are important to you, keep it together with you. so that when you move out, you can take it with you. There are often cases where the bank access is revoked, people's credit card has been blocked, they don't have their educational certificate, they don't have their IC, and these continue to give trouble to you. So always keep your documents accessible and hidden from the perpetrator. Next is create the circle of trustworthy people around you. Tell them about your situation and stay in touch with them. Now, isolation is one of the biggest thing that happens when intimate partner violence happen, because this is the way the perpetrator grooms the victim. Thus, creating that circle of trustworthy people is very important. Not staying isolated is very important. So choose 2-3 people, 4-5 people in from your family, from your friends circle, whom you can reach out to in the need at the time of danger, and keep their contacts close to you, right, in your phone. And then code, which means have a code word for the danger shared with the circle of trust. Because what happens is, often, let's say if you are using a phone or if you are talking to someone and you just go and your perpetrator is around and you just go and say that this is happening to you, the perpetrator may get more violent, and next what is coming to you could be more threatening. So thus have a code words, a few code words, in which one could be that I am really in danger and it is time now for you to call the police to my house, right? So it's up to you how you adjust it, but do have few code words with your friends. Then create your toolkit of what you need to carry. Keep your important phone numbers handy. Keep your suitcase handy. And also, it is always useful to keep an extra phone hidden from the perpetrator with all your important numbers saved in that. Because often the first thing to be snatched is your phone. Often the first things to be deleted is your social media, so that you can't reach out to anyone. So keep a hidden phone handy with you. Then next is conceal yourself, which means within the same house, if you are living with the perpetrator, have a room to yourself where you can lock it from inside if it is really very dangerous for you, and come out only when you see that the situation has been calmed down. Now, often we live in spaces where it is not possible for us to have the luxury of an extra room which we can keep locked, where we can go, right? So in that case, you can have a safe room outside of your house too, probably involving a neighbor and telling them that I might need it, or your friend that I might need it is also useful. Keep somebody who's close to you that, okay, I might need this room when I'm in danger. And then clean. Eliminate all the sharp objects or anything that can pose threat to your life away from your house, so that perpetrator is not able to use it. So these are some of the things which you can do as your safety planning while you are still living with the perpetrator, or you are planning to walk out, because that's the most dangerous time. However, when you will give call to the professionals, when you will give call to the people like Aware and PAVE, they will do an elaborate safety planning with you. Till that time, keep this handy with you. And all the people who are listening, you might not be the one facing the violence, but if somebody comes to you and asks you what they should do, you can keep this handy with you too. Now, what is our job as a support system? First of all, to understand the subject. Because what happens is that when we are dealing with somebody who's going through the domestic violence or intimate partner violence, we often get disappointed, irritated, because this is what we are dealing with. There is a lot of self-blame, guilt, shame, and trust me, there is a science to tell you why it is this way. Actually, many of these slides can be the training in itself. And then, sometimes they become easily triggered. Sometimes they are in denial. You might see a friend of yours who always get hurt and tell, oh, I slipped from the stairs, or I got hit by something, or I got burned by something, but they will never tell that this is happening to me. So they want to hide it because of their low self-esteem, because of their insecurity, or because that maybe if I will go and tell this to people, they will bring police to my house, or they will tell other people, it will reach to perpetrator and I might get in danger. Then they might be depressed. They might suddenly cut contact with you completely and then reappear again. And you will think, where did they go? Why is it that this person, and especially if some of you are employers, if somebody has gone through abuse or is going through abuse, they might not be in their 100% working state, and you have to give that levy to them. It will take some time for them to get back into their original form where they can provide 100% work, right? Now, your job as a support system, what are the do's and what are the don'ts? Number one, know that when a survivor decides to move out of abusive relationship, it is going to be the most difficult and the challenging time and most dangerous time of their life. You can encourage the survivor to engage in different activities outside of relationship, because I can't say more and more, but it's really important because they are isolated. So the more they go out, the more they make friends, the more they get into the activities. And in Singapore, there's a lot that happens, this kind of activities, different Zoom things that are going on, different kind of team building activities. Encourage them to go for that and meet more people. You yourself can learn the skills like safety planning and first response. I think first response is a skill that all of us as humans should learn. And some of the tools of first response are listening. We often listen to answer and we don't listen to provide the listening. And in case of a survivor of abuse, you have to be there present, providing the listening, instead of telling them, instead of being like, telling them, this has happened to this person also, they did this, and this happened, my mother's father, my mother's brothers, uncles, in-law is also going through that. No, don't. At least he's not hitting you or she's not hurting you. Don't silver line it. Listen to them. Any kind of abuse is abuse, and the survivor is very, very vulnerable. Now, familiarize yourself with the resources, all the numbers that I have given right now, all what Devi has spoken just now. We can very easily say that, we don't need to know about all these things because nothing is happening to me. But you never know, something might be happening to you or your close friend or your relative or an individual that you don't even guess that things are happening. So if they come to you to speak, you should be ready with the resources. And also be patient, be non-judgmental. Don't judge them for not leaving the person. Don't tell them that, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should learn kickboxing next time. If this person does it, you should hit them. No, all this doesn't work. When abuse happens, everything that's safe in the cognitive brain doesn't work. They might be Mike Tyson, but they will forget to land their punch. Now, what are the don'ts? The don'ts are, don't give them the guilty trip. Don't blame them that, oh, you know what? Even though you are being abused so much, you are still staying in this relationship. I have friends who want to support the victims of intimate partner violence, and they keep telling me, oh, they have all the help. They have the people in their family ready to accept them, ready to help them, but they are not leaving the relationship. But the dynamics of intimate partner violence is such that it is really very difficult to leave this relationship. Don't show them tough love or withdraw yourself or cut the contact with them. If they choose not to leave, or if they choose that they don't want to talk to you for a while, or they don't want to share their story with you, or they just want to tell you a little bit and don't want to tell you more than that, don't judge them for that. And really don't show tough love, because tough love is exactly what they have been experiencing all this while. Don't confront them, and definitely do not encourage them to go and confront with the abuser, because that can put them in a very difficult and dangerous situation. And while some of you, and a lot of us actually, we have been doing a lot of work for the society, for the community. We want each and every one to be safe, and it comes from our heart. But having said that, Do not neglect your own self-care. Only handle whatever you can. Don't burn out in the process, because if you will burn out in the process, this person is going to leave one trustworthy friend or a family member, right? And also, I want to speak a little bit more about listening. So when you listen and when you question the survivor, before that, ask yourself this question: am I listening to this person because I want to provide the listening, or am I listening to this person because I'm curious and I want to satisfy my own curiosity and know the story, and then gossip about it, or whatever? So set the intention correctly, and then often when you listen from a non-judgmental space, often when you are present for a person, they do open up to you. And if they don't, just let it be. Just let them know that you are there, that you have certain resources. If they would like to access them, you would be happy to give it to them. If they choose to not talk about it anymore, then let them be. And then I want to say that at any given moment, you have the power to say that this is not where my story ends. Thank you very much. I will pass this to Swana again. And if there are any questions, please ask.
Thank you for your sharing, Dr. Vani. I think we will invite both of you for the question and answer session. Before that, can I invite all of you to switch on your video so we can take maybe a group picture, for as this is a momentous event as well, the first ever meeting. So it's good to have some memories. Dr. Vani, I think you are sharing your computer.
Sorry?
Stop share.
Oh, it's still sharing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, done.
Okay. Yeah, we are seeing some people switching on. Just give a few minutes or seconds. Yeah. Can I request our Zoom master to take a picture?
Okay, we are just waiting for some people to just on their videos. Okay. Right, we'll take the first screenshot for the first page itself.
Give a great smile.
Right. Okay. Just keep on smiling. We are going to the next screen. Just give me one more minute. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Now let us spotlight our two speakers here today. And please, you can either raise your hands and unmute and ask, or you can put it on the chat box if there are any specific questions to both of them.
If no one want to ask question, maybe I'll start off with asking you a question. Is it okay? I think the ladies are shy as usual. Okay. I don't think so. Let us see. Once you start off, then you'll see the series of questions will come. in today's Sunday Times newspaper, on page A4 and B2, you have some very interesting articles today. Men are looking after the family, the women are going out to work. Compared to the statistics they given in 2011 and today, it's very exciting to know that many men are becoming, what do you call that, housemen? What do you call it? Housewife and house husbands. So
House husbands.
yeah, so it's, the trend is becoming more and more. What do you think about this trend? Will it create some issues in the social structure? I think this will be addressed to Dr. Vani first.
I mean, why should it?
No. You see, the trend now, the men are becoming house husbands. More and more, the trend is coming in.
Yeah.
So, this women's charter is catered for the safety of the women. Now, the men having problem now, will they be taken care of? What are the safety measures for them?
Yes. Definitely, sadly, at the moment, there are not a lot of safety measures for men, but we as women have come a long way in terms of safety measure, right? So,
Yes.
so now it's time for men to campaign. And I have two sons, and I'm a feminist, a very proud feminist, and I often think that what about my children? What about my sons in this? We have all seen the Johnny Depp case very recently, right? This has become a very popular case. So yes, even as a true feminist, it means inclusivity. So we are out there for all of you guys. Let's campaign. And nothing happens without standing up, without campaigning. I would love for a day where men start gathering, where men start having a circle, and one by one, slowly the road will be paved. And just now Devi has shared that, for an incapacitated man, there is a law. And I'm sure with more and more advocacy, the laws are going to be there, and definitely the safety is required as much as for women, as much as for men, as much as for all the other genders.
Thank you. You're also aware that the violence against the men is growing in numbers.
Yeah.
So that is another thing to be looked at. I think after our discussion, maybe we'll put up some paper to the government to see whether Parliament will be able to revise the laws that to make it more equal to men and women simultaneously. So let us see about that part of it. Next part of the question will be, maybe Devi Haridas can help in this part, where the assets in the case of a divorce, the issue of assets. For example, there was one case where $1 million Hong Pao, that is the gift, was given during the wedding, and within a short marriage there was a dispute, and there was a dispute on that $1 million. So that's a very interesting thing. I think I spoke to Devi about that. Do you like to address that issue on those cases? What should the people do to save their own assets? Because now, in the case of a divorce, more issues are coming up. People are fighting for their money, the dollars. So $1 million is a real case, gone to court, and the court has decided in such a way that it was given during the wedding day, so it should be equal to both. But how this thing can be avoided, and what kind of protection people can take against the division of assets, because now more marriages are breaking up. So what kind of advantage, what kind of the protection they should take, precautions they should take to avoid such fights in the assets. And it's, when they fight when they fight in the court, it's really bitter fighting, especially when it comes to money. So maybe I think Devi Haridas can just give us some tinkle how we can avoid this kind of issues. Thank you.
Sure. The devil is in the details. Actually, what the provisions are the same, exactly the same as what is applied to all cases of division of assets. In many, many divorce cases for the past more than 3 decades that I've seen, the dissolution of the marriage is not a big issue. The division of assets is a bigger headache than the entire thing put together. So when the court said what it did, it's like what is matrimonial asset is already defined in the charter. Anything that is that belongs to both parties or is acquired during the course of the marriage by either party. It doesn't have to be a joint acquisition. So if one party buys a house in his or her sole name, but that's during the marriage, that's matrimonial assets because you acquire it during the course of the marriage. So this ang pao, $1 million ang pao, was given by the, if I'm not wrong, the husband's parents to both parties as here. You know, you serve me, they call it the tea ceremony. When the couple serves the parents tea, the parents bless them with a gift. So that in this context was taken to be a joint gift to both parties. If the husband's parents wanted it to be the son's sole benefit, they should have given it to him the night before and said, here, son, have this, you know, like this is yours. If you want to share it with your wife, it's your problem, but I'm giving it to you. But because they gave it in that context, the court actually said, because of the context, the way the law applied is, it's a gift to both parties. And so it was shared. So to answer the other part of your question as to how to protect your assets from your spouse, difficult question because parties going into a marriage shouldn't be looking to protect themselves against their spouse. It actually goes against the grain of the institution of a marriage. But increasingly, I see young people like in their 20s asking for prenuptial agreements. It is, when I first came across it many years ago, it was a bit of a shocker to me. The status of a prenup in Singapore is not tested. At best, it will be evidence of the party's intention at the time, whatever was acquired. So if let's say the husband comes from a very rich family and the wife is from an okay family, but not to match, and the husband's buying a condo, hasn't completed the sale, but he's getting married in between, he wants to make sure the condo is his and not the wife's. So they go into a prenup and they say, okay, this is mine and mine only, okay, you keep off. And if that marriage breaks down, then the court has evidence to show that the parties didn't intend for it to be a matrimonial asset. So it's all about evidence and the intentions of parties. So how do you prove intention? From documents, from circumstances, from facts surrounding what happened. So that's exactly what happened with the $1 million ang pao gift. So for those parents who want to endow their children with a, like hefty ang pao of sorts, make sure your intentions are clear. And I think you can save a lot of trouble for the couple.
Thank you.
Hope that answered your question.
Yes, of course. I think just for people who are watching, keep proper records. So whatever you're buying or whatever assets you have, so the court is very particular about documentation and proof of evidence. So whether it's husband or wife, both have to keep proper records so there's no bitter fighting in court. So when evidence are produced, solutions are easier, so matters can be resolved faster. Right, I think you're waiting for, I'm just only a starter, you're waiting for questions from our audience. When I say questions, some of them vanished. So please ask some questions which you have gone through or you are in doubt with.
Mr. Hari, I think I have one question for Ms.
Please.
Devi. Ms. Devi, this is something that came up in my mind when you were talking about domicile. And I think for Indian families or Indian marriages, especially in Singapore, we find that many of them come from overseas and get married here. And so can you elaborate a bit more on if the citizenship is from somewhere else, but have lived here for a long time? Technically, how is this domicile calculated? Is it my choice? You said women have the choice, but where do they say? Because I recently encountered a friend who went through divorce, and this was something that came up on which law to follow, which, and things like that. Yeah.
That's a pretty complex issue you raised, but to put it quite simply, if a couple who are, for example, Indian citizens, but they've been here for many, many years and they've got their PR, or even if they don't, but they've been working here for more than 3 years, if the marriage were to break down and they want to avail themselves of the Women's Charter provisions in Singapore, that means one party wants to start the divorce in Singapore, as long as either one of them has been in Singapore for more than 3 years, they can do so. But that does not change their domicile for other things. So for example, if it's inheritance, like one of them passes away, then the laws of inheritance that will apply to that person would be the domicile of his home country. So it's differently applied for different issues. So strictly for divorce, if they have the option of doing it here because one of them has been around for more than 3 years, then they can start one here. But nothing stops the other party from starting one in India. And we've had a lot of mess that way. So one tries to, speed, hose the other one down and all that. So it has happened and it does get messy. But the whole idea of the Women's Charter divorce provisions being applied to people who've been here for more than 3 years is because, if they're here and they need to commence the action to clean up their personal matters, the law does allow it. In the event that the home country's action proceeds faster and an order is made there, then of course that would take precedence. I hope that answered.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes.
Okay. Our presentations were too clear or not at all. There are no questions.
No, it was very, very clear. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Kokila, you have something to ask?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I actually have a question, but it is my own personal experience. Is it also okay for me to share that with you? To ask a question based on my personal experience?
Okay, we are not able to give one-on-one advice, but if you want to state a general position, question. I think that's fine. If you're okay sharing.
Yeah, I'm okay sharing. I just want to know that one particular detail. If let's say we are sharing a home and with children, I have 5 children. So, but I have not been working for the past 14 years. And I would like to seek for the house is a joint, we are sharing the home. And I would like to know if, like what you said, am I able to have the home for myself and for the children?
Okay, that's a tough one to say a yes or no to, because a lot of other factors will come into play. Your earning capacity, although you've not been working, age of the children, needs of the children, whether your husband is able to let you have the house, take over the house. Are you able to take over the house? If there's a mortgage balance payment, a lot of factors will have to go in. So the best person to answer that question would be your lawyer. Are you in the midst of any proceedings, ma'am?
No, I'm not. I'm very reluctant. So I have not got any opportunities yet.
I think you should just seek legal advice on one-on-one. You don't have to start anything, just to know your rights. Lay out your cards so that you can make an informed decision whether you want to go down that road.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question for Ms. Vani. I'm Vasanthi Francis here. Could you please share something about what is the trait of the abuser and how does the victim mentality goes on? Thank you.
What is the
traits of the abuser and how does the victim mentality blocks that? Thank you.
types of abuser is, there's no type of abuser. The abuser is an abuser.
Traits, Traits, traits of abuse.
Oh, traits
Traits.
of abuser. Well, when you say traits of abuser, there is, anyone can abuse, anyone can be abuser. My first case that I handled, when I started this, there was a little child who was abused by her bua, the father's sister. And that literally shattered for me that there is any traits or there is anything, any kind of like abuser looks like this person. It's some milkman or washerman or man. Abuser can be anyone. Often we do try to, there are a lot of like papers in science which does try to know why is it that the people who are abusing do such things. A lot of time it does relate to the childhood trauma that they have gone through, the things that they have seen in their life. It could also be the power play. Having said that, none of this justifies the abuse. If somebody is abusing, it means it's an abuse, right? So now to answer your other question, how does the victim, sorry, could you please say it again?
How does the victim can get rid of that victim mentality and overcome this kind of abuses?
Slowly. First of all, the victim mentality is, there is a lot of grooming that happens before this abuse happens. So the victim has gone a long way groomed and isolated from the whole circle. So it's a tough journey to get out of the victim mentality. And having said that, as and when someone feels that now they are ready to get out, be a little open. Even if I say such things, I feel like I'm preaching, but whenever you are ready, first of all, don't judge a victim about their mentality. There's nothing called victim mentality. It's they are in a very difficult soup situation, right? So yes, whenever they decide that they want to do something about it, taking help of professional, whether it is a professional lawyer, whether it is a professional organizations or counselors, all of this is going to help you a long way to get out of that victim mentality. You are going to need to have a lot of healing. And the first step is not judging yourself for what you have gone through, not putting the fault on you that because I have done something wrong because of which I have gone through all this that has happened. It's not your fault. It's not your shame. It's not your guilt. It doesn't have to be your story. So bouncing off of it, you need to have all your armors ready. And often what happens is that we say that, going to the counselor, speaking to the counselor means that something is wrong with our head and we are crazy, but it's not true. Something outside of you has happened that you were not expecting, because of which you are not able to behave the way you are supposed to behave, or you normally know how to behave, right? So thus, like you go to when you are hurt, you go to the medical places. Similarly, when you are going through such things, go to professionals. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Leela. I'm an early childhood educator. I really enjoyed the insightful session by both of you, Ms. Vani and Ms. Devi. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot. I have a question for you. As an educator in the society and a common person, what can I do for gender stereotyping? Because it's there in the minds of everyone in the society, including children. Some of the boys, they really don't like to play with the girls. It's same for the girls as well. And what can I do to avoid this? So I just want to hear from you.
First of all, be aware of your own stereotypes. Like, what are your own judgments? What are your own opinion? If a boy doesn't want to play with a girl, what is the reason for that? Be inquisitive. Why is it that this boy doesn't want to play with the girl? What has happened? What are his belief system because of which it is happening, rather than putting a mold. So as an educator, it is very important to be completely opinionless and fully transparent. Like anything, there are so many educators who have opinions, and as a human we all do form opinions, we all do form judgment, but when you are out there at the stage, being a early childhood educator means that you are literally holding these little clay in your hand and molding them, right? So just be completely transparent and be open to what comes to you, as opposed to your opinion. Just put your opinions aside for a while. I think that really, really helps a lot. Yeah. And salute to you, because I when I became early childhood educator, I was very scared, because for me it was like, oh my God, whatever I'm going to say is going to be stuck in these small heads, right? So kudos to you that you are doing it. And I know how much we doubt ourselves, but just more power to you, and go for it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vani. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for wonderful interaction here. We do come to the end of this session, and I'm sure we have learned quite a bit in these two sharings that we have heard. And like anything that has to come to an end and move on, I would like to now invite our Kamala Club President, Smita, to do the closing address. I will just give a short introduction about Smita. Smita is the current president of Kamala Club and has served for 3.5 years in this position. She has immense pleasure in doing charity work, and also she is professionally an architect. So doing both social work and professional work, she's just wonderful to represent Kamala Club here. And over to you, Kamala, Smita, to do the closing address.
Thank you, Sarna, so much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Yeah. Thank you, Swarna. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contributions of all those who work to make this Women's Charter and Empowerment session happen today. So a warm and special afternoon to our most valued, honorable speakers, Ms. Devi Haridas, senior lawyer, and Dr. Ms. Vani Khare. My gratitude to you for gracing today's event and for sharing such a valuable inputs. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this is surely going to encourage us in taking actions for our future. This session has enlightened our minds and has shown us a new path. The members of our two organizations have definitely benefited from your fruitful talk and are now ready to take and deal with any challenges. A special thanks to our respected GOPIO President, Mr. Hari Krishnan Muthusamy, for being the catalyst that's stimulating us to do our best and standing as a pillar of strength. A grateful thank to our Kamala Club chairperson and committee members, Swarna Kalyan, Rajeshji, for planning and organizing this event since past few months back. I would also like to thank the people who work behind the scene to make this event happen. A big thank you to each one of you gathered here on this virtual digital platform who made this event so successful and memorable for all of us. This was our first jointly organized event between GOPIO Singapore Women's Wing and the Kamala Club Singapore after we have signed the Memorandum of Understanding. As a Kamala Club President, it is my heartfelt desire to organize more and more workshops and interactive sessions with such an eminent speakers. In the future, we should do joint events more together. And thank you so much, dear GOPIO and Kamala Club member, for your enthusiastic participation. Have a nice weekend. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful closing address. Thank you all for spending this precious 2 hours with us on a Sunday evening. I'm sure it has been enriching. And thank you all for giving me the opportunity to host this event, especially to GOPIO Singapore, Mr. Hari Krishnan Muthuswamy, and my dear friend Amrita, who arrowed me to do this job today. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. And till we meet again, this is Swarna signing off. Bye.